Folks, we are placing all of the Stardew Valley villagers onto a political compass. We are going to put all the villagers where they belong. Now, you may be thinking, Stella, what qualifications do you have to do this? Well, let me show you something. I went to college for 4 years and got this. This is my degree that I got in politics, so I know what I'm talking about, ostensibly. Listen, I went to college for 4 years, I got my degree in politics, and now I spend 3 days a week on Twitch playing video games. Totally stole this idea from this person, Nino Kito. I saw them do this on TikTok. They've only got 70 subscribers, so maybe we could, show a little support. Here it is. Here's the compass. If you don't know how this works, it is basically economic and social. Obviously, the word libertarian has kind of a different meaning. Nowadays, let's get the easy one out the way first, right? Let's get the easy one out the way first. Let's just, hi bud, you belong up here. Morris, owner of Jojo Mart, he's a fascist. We hate his pussy. Completely right-leaning economic values, clearly. He talks so often about expanding Jojo Mart into every aspect of life. He wants to franchise Jojo Mart out everywhere. If this is not the face of a fascist, I don't know what is. Penny. Hello, Penny. Lives in a trailer. She is a tutor. She definitely voted for Hillary. Definitely had an I'm with her shirt. So I would say like neolib. She also is part of the working class. She doesn't have a lot of money, so probably more left-leaning economics. But I just don't think she knows a lot about it. Definitely is the type to say she's more liberal, but is definitely liberal. That just feels right to me. Kent. Father to Sam and Vincent, husband of Jody. Now, Kent was in the military. We don't really know the circumstances of which he joined the military, if they were, nationalistic intent, or maybe he just needed free education. I don't think he voted for Trump, but then again, did he vote at all? I'm thinking economically, we're leaning more right, and the views are a little bit up here. I'm kind of thinking he's sort of juxtaposed to Penny. He's kind of the opposite of Penny. Moving on. Sam, Kent's son. They have similar spiky Dragon Ball hair. Sam, I feel like, is the type of guy to look at politics and not really want to engage, in a himbo way, but also he doesn't really care to learn. I definitely think he's socially pretty leftist. Economically, though, I feel like he doesn't mind working at Jojo Mart. Let's drop him there for now. Next up, oh boy, Clint. Clint voted for Gary Johnson. Full-on libertarian, which actually sort of belongs here. I think he's here. He's an incel. He gets all of his political leanings from Reddit. He heard that guy at that libertarian convention say that we don't need driver's licenses to drive, and he thought about it for a bit too long and was like, maybe. And he's kind of a sexist. Evelyn, the queen. I feel like she is left-leaning economically, because I feel like she's the type of person to always want to lend a helping hand to people. And I feel like she's very accepting. I feel like she's not a socialist because she is kind of scared of the word socialism. She had a job during the Cold War and has sort of a fear of communism. So maybe not fully left-leaning, economically speaking. You know what? She belongs all the way down here. You come out as a trans boy and she immediately calls you a handsome young man. She's great. We love her. We stan. Next up, we have Gunther. Owns the library, so he's kind of a socialist because he owns a library. I feel like he, sort of like Sam, is sort of willfully ignorant in terms of social justice things. He doesn't really participate. I feel like he's just sort of here. Next up, we have Leo. Now, Leo is a child who thinks he's a bird, so this one is kind of tricky. Because I don't think Leo really understands politics. How does his bird brain fall onto this political compass? I think he's an anarcho-communist. Absolutely would have voted for Bernie if he understood the concept of voting. Everyone shares everything. The world is for everyone. Money isn't real. I'm going to use the barter system because I'm a bird. I feel like he's sort of off the grid. Good for him. All right, Marnie. Marnie probably looked at Bernie Sanders and thought, that's a little much for me. But I do think that she supported Obamacare. Now, does Marnie support gay rights? I think she does, but just as a formality. She's down, but the vibes are off. Mr. Key. Mr. Key doesn't give a shit whether anybody lives or dies. Mr. Key actually might be the ultimate centrist. I think he thinks that like a government as a whole is sort of inherently fraudulent. He just wants you to find his beans. He does not care whether you live or die in the Skull Caves trying to get down there. He runs a casino, so that tells me that he may be a little more capitalist leaning. His products are very expensive. I feel like he is center right. Next up, we have Jazz. Now, hear me out. Jazz, I feel like when she grows up, would turn into a girl boss. I do think she's gonna fall into an MLM scheme. I do think that she would be the type to DM you on Instagram, hey girly, do you wanna be your own boss? Look at that face and tell me that's not the face of a future girl boss. If she was old enough at the time, she would have supported Elizabeth Holmes. That's all I'm saying. I'm putting her down here. Okay, next up we have Gus, another business owner, runs the saloon. Gus is a very jolly man. He sort of belongs like here. Like he's pretty accepting. He wants to make sure that, you know, you're well fed and feeling tipsy. So he would probably be like a Meals on Wheels supporter. He does tell Linus to let him know if he needs something to eat so he doesn't have to eat out of the trash. That is true. Okay, maybe we put him here. I feel like that works because he's still a business owner. He is a small business owner, so it's like there's no ethical consumption under late capitalism. You know what? Maybe I'm not giving Gus the benefit of the doubt. Gus is a great guy. Maybe he's not so centrist. Maybe Gus belongs down here. Maybe I do like Gus. Now that I'm thinking about it for more than 5 seconds, maybe I do like Gus. Okay, George. Oh, George. I don't want to turn this into a generational thing. I don't want to be like all old people are conservative because that's not true. Clearly, I have Evelyn down here. However, I think he is the type of person to look at social programs as handouts. This man voted for Donald Trump. This man bought the Trump Kool-Aid and drank it wholeheartedly. Here's the thing about George is that I do think that he supports unions and at the same time also doesn't want handouts. Like he'll tell you both. He'll say both in the same breath and mean both, but not understand that they're sort of contradictory. Like, lest we forget that same cutscene with Gus and Linus, George is the one to call Linus a raccoon rifling around in his trash can. I honestly think that where I put George right now is kind of where he belongs. He's sort of an enigma economically. He doesn't fall one way or the other. I'm gonna leave him here. All right, these next two are interesting. We have Krobus and we have the dwarf. Here's the thing, Krobus and the dwarf are very similar. They are from warring factions. Historically, the shadow people and the dwarves were at war. Now, we don't really know what they were at war over. I think that might give us a little bit more insight into their political leanings. That being said, I do think both of them are communists. Yeah, that's a great question. Where in the political compass does just a little guy go? Here's the thing. I think both of them are communists. Krobus goes right here. The dwarf goes right above him right here. This just makes sense to me. They both support their factions, right? Like, it's not like either one of these guys wants no government. But if the dwarves were the colonizers, then they belong up here. I will not be taking any criticism at this time. This is where they belong. Next up, we have Sandy. Sandy, I feel like, is an actual ally. I mean, this is clearly a gay person, but I feel like she is like a real leftist. I'm gonna put her right here. She does have a bit of faith in a governing body, but only in the sense that she wants that government to give people money and jobs and resources. Like, whereas Leo down here, off the grid Leo, doesn't understand the concept of people not fending for themselves and just picking berries off of bushes and eating them. She is an optimist. She wants the government to work. She understands that it's not right now and that the government needs to redistribute wealth, but that's why she's a little up higher. That's where she lands. Lewis. Oh, Mayor Lewis. Mayor of Pelican Town Lewis. I mean, he wants to maintain power. He has won every election for as long as we can remember. Literally made a gold statue of himself. Doesn't do really any work. He officiates weddings. He keeps the lost and found in his house. Doesn't really do anything, but wants to maintain power. What even is that, you know? Okay, he does a little bit of work behind the scenes. He organizes the fairs and things. He's a government guy, so we put him up here. Maybe not full fascist, but just up here. Is he a capitalist, though? I don't think so. I think he's kind of a weird one. I think he exists sort of here. Because it doesn't seem like he is kind of like hoarding wealth. He just wants the power that comes with the title. Such a fucking weirdo. How is he still mayor? It really doesn't make sense. He belongs right here. He does care about the businesses of Pelican Town, but like on a personal level, I think he belongs up here. Next up, we have Pam. That just feels right to me. Pam is 100% transphobic. Yeah, she is. You know what? Pam, in her heyday, was like really involved in the John McCain campaign. Would definitely like move to Florida if she had the money. Yeah, was really involved in the McCain campaign, and then years later was involved in like the Marco Rubio campaign. That's how I feel. Now, I saw Zebrecord in the chat a minute ago say who else would run for mayor of Pelican Town? Well, that would be Robin. Robin would run for mayor if she was just given the tools. I do think that she belongs down here. I think Robin is very successful, but I think she's a bit of a capitalist. She's sort of in the camp that I put Sandy in, of like, she's an optimist when it comes to government, but more right-leaning economic-wise. She's like if AOC was a capitalist. Next up is Shane. Does this make sense? I just feel like this makes sense. This is me soul reading on Shane, vibe check on Shane. I can't really explain it much better than that. You know what it is that Shane is a follower. I say this with love in my heart. He needs somebody to point him in the right direction. And he has found that in Jojo Mart. I also do think that he gets like weirded out by gay stuff. Like if his friend came out to him and was like, hey man, I'm gay. Shane would be the type of guy to be like, don't fall in love with me. Not a very strong ally. I think this is accurate. Let's move over here. Next up we have Sebastian. Sebastian is the type of guy to think it is feminist to get pegged. And I believe that. And I stand by that. For that reason, I'm putting him here. Okay, next up we have the wizard, Rasmodius. Now, Rasmodius has an interesting story because he just sort of lives out in the woods. He can talk to the dwarves and Krobus. His ex-wife is a witch, literally. There's also that theory that he sort of cucked Pierre with Caroline, and Abigail is his biological daughter. I feel like the wizard is sort of like Leo in the sense where he fully believes to his core that money is not real. He says magic is real, money is not. Because he is literally a magic man, he feels no need for government. He says, I am more powerful than any of these government officials could ever be. Yeah, this feels right. Speaking of potential cucking, let's do Caroline next. Caroline, I feel like, is the ultimate neoliberal. She is sort of like right here. Like, obviously she canvassed for Hillary. There's no shot she didn't. Another one that like looked at Bernie Sanders and was like, whoa, that's a lot. You know what she is? She's the mom from Mean Girls. I'm a cool mom. I'm accepting with the kids. Now, what's all this about they, them pronouns? It's a little too much for me. That's that on that. Next up, we have Willie, the fisherman. Methinks that he belongs sort of like in the middle here. Maybe more down here. Maybe like right next to Gunther. Maybe a bit higher up. Maybe here. Maybe here. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't know why. Just a vibe. Just a soul read. There's an argument to be made to put Willie down here. Like here. Now that sort of just feels right. That sort of just feels accurate. But I don't know why. It's hard, right? Because Stardew Valley is inherently a capitalist game. I don't like blame him for owning a business. He's not a fucking landlord or anything, you know? No, I like where I put him the first time. I like that he is here. Just a vibe check. I don't know, man. Now let's do another business owner. Everyone's favorite supermarket owner, Pierre. Now, this is a bold claim because they are canonically rivals in the video game Stardew Valley. But I just think they belong together. Listen, when you're playing this video game, you have to make a choice. You have to make a choice, and that is, are you going to buy from Jojo Mart and help them expand? Or are you going to buy from Pierre's and save the community center? Those are your two options. As the player, you are kind of supposed to look at these two guys as sort of diametrically opposed. Foes. However, in a lot of ways, they are the same. The roads of capitalism are paved with blood. He's also kind of a dick. When he finds Abigail in the graveyard in that cutscene, and Abigail's like talking to you about how much she wants to like go into the mines and go sword fighting, he literally is like, get back in the kitchen. Like, Pierre sucks. I'm sorry. I'm gonna keep buying from him because, you know, fuck Jojo Mart. But they sort of belong together, is all I'm saying. Next up, let's do Demetrius, everyone's favorite scientist. Demetrius, I think, really values the sciences, obviously. So, like, he was the type to, like, try and stop people from going to, like, anti-vax rallies. I think he sort of belongs with Robin. It's like there's a reason that they're together, you know? Maybe he belongs a little bit higher. I think he belongs here. I feel like he just belongs there. That's another soul read. I don't talk to Demetrius a lot in the games, so I don't really know what his real deal is, other than being being an overprotective dad and doing science. But, you know, he comes to my farm and he takes care of the bats in my fruit cave, so. What more could you ask? Linus, you belong down here with your buds? Linus might be more off the grid than Leo just because he knows more. He's an adult, he has learned. He's teaching Leo to move even further off the grid. Linus is the type to look the government in the eyes and laugh. He sees no need for money. He understands that Mother Nature will have everything that he could ever want. He sees the government, looks them dead in the eyes, and says, no. Let's do Leah, my beloved, my cottagecore lesbian queen, also not one to care about money. Leah follows AOC on Instagram and tunes into every single one of those Instagram lives. For that reason, I think that she is a little higher up here, but all the way over here. She donates her money to nonprofits. She believes in Medicare for all. She believes in socialized programs. She also, like, to her own detriment, sort of believes in the system. She tunes into those AOC live streams. She wants it to get better. Vincent, a child. Vincent the child looked at his dad go to war and might be a bit of a nationalist, but also doesn't understand the concept of money. And for that reason, I am gonna put him all the way over here. Maybe not so high up. Maybe we put him over here. I feel like if Vincent and Shane were the same age, minus the addiction problems, they could have been really good friends. Yeah, that feels correct. Let's talk about Marlon and Gil, our adventure boys. Before we get into where they are on the political spectrum, do you guys think that Marlon and Gil are together? Because these just might be two old gays. Now hear me out. I think that, like the wizard who understands the realities of magic, these two guys have seen monsters and seen mages and do not believe that the government can do what the earth can do. I think they belong like this. There's an argument to be made that these guys are log cabin Republicans, but I don't think they are. I think they just don't vote. Moving on, Maru. Maru, I feel like is very similar to Leah. I feel like I'm gonna put her here. Maybe a little more inland. Maybe like here. Maybe she and Penny canvassed for Hillary together. I feel like Maru voted for Bernie in the primaries, Hillary in the general, and canvassed out of necessity, but like is a leftist. Let's do Haley next. I want to talk about Haley and how she went on Instagram to find a sugar daddy. Haley went on Instagram and saw people get sugar daddies for feet pics, and she said, now that's a market that I could break into. I'm a photographer. I do also feel like she would fall into the MLM trap. Haley was the girl in high school who in the locker room knew that you were a lesbian and would like cover up. You know what I mean? But she also like wants a gay best friend, but total capitalist. Let's do Harvey next. Our man in the medical field. I'm just gonna throw this out there. Harvey has trans mask swag. So clearly we're looking at the bottom half. I feel like if we're looking at the up and down, we're looking at like here. We're looking around Caroline levels. He does want to just take care of people and listen to air traffic radio. I think he sort of belongs in like the Penny Maru camp. I think he sort of belongs like right here. This is a bit of a squad. Elliot. I'm not a big Elliot fan. Is that controversial? I've said this before. Elliot just like reminds me too much of an NYU freshman. He just reminds me too much of like the freshman that thinks he knows a lot. Is he the type of guy to play devil's advocate? Like, I don't want him to be the type of guy to play devil's advocate, but I feel like he might. I feel like he's sort of a centrist. What was his deal again? He moved to Pelican Town to write his book. He lives on the beach, but I can't remember like why he lives on the beach. I feel like we just put him sort of like right of center. Mainly because I think he's kind of a coward and he doesn't like change. Let's talk about Emily. Let's talk about Emily and how Emily is the blueprint for blue hair and pronouns. Emily is down here. Emily is a true leftist. Emily is a quirked up white girl, busting it down sexual style. We just put her right down here with this crowd. These five, they're a crowd. Let's talk about Alex now. Alex is a himbo and doesn't want anything to do with politics. He looks at it, he doesn't understand it, he doesn't feel the need to become less ignorant. For that reason, I feel like he belongs sort of like right here. He looks at the way things are and says, it's fine, it's not affecting me. Do we not remember that Alex is a misogynist? At least in the beginning he is. I know it's like you can change him or whatever, which I'm sorry, if you think that way, huge I can fix him energy. Alex has a lot of growing up to do, is all I'll say. There is the possibility for change, but it's not my problem to fix him. That being said, let's talk about Jody. Jody has the potential to fall into the neolib category along with like Marnie and Caroline and them. I feel like she also has the possibility to lean more WASP. You know what I mean? That kind of like waspy Republican mom energy. There's possibilities for both. She definitely belongs on this side somewhere. I feel like she belongs sort of like right here. Here's why. I feel like she's the type to not want her taxes taken. She's also the type where it's like, if you come out to her, she would just kind of like be like, oh, okay, I don't really understand the lifestyle, but that's okay. Jody would hop on that train of not enough women are buying NFTs. That's why she's down there. Now, Abigail, I think you could make arguments for a few different things. Her priorities are video games and swords. So she's sort of just like me. Does she believe in the government enough to want to keep it? Is she leftist enough to hang out with Emily and Leah? Or is she the type of gal, when Sebastian tells her that it's feminist to get pegged, she's like, you're right, bend over. That sort of makes sense to me. Is this video gonna get demonetized? Maybe. Last but not least, we have the governor. Now, we don't know a lot about the governor. We know that when he comes to the luau, he is considering buying a summer home in Pelican Town. So we know he has money. He is a government official, so he has power. We don't know a lot of his policies, is the problem. The real question is, does he support things like Jojo Mart? What is he subsidizing? He definitely belongs in one of these quadrants. I think he maybe views Jojo in the same way that he views Pierre's. Like, he looks at Amazon-owned Jojo Mart and says, well, Jeffrey Bezos pulled himself up by his bootstraps, just like Pierre is doing. You know, if Pierre had maybe a little bit more resources, a little bit more time on his hands, he could also franchise like a Jojo Mart. I think he belongs there. I like this. I like this assessment. If you disagree with me, let me know in the comments. To be fair, when I play Stardew Valley, I really don't do the social stuff a lot. I don't talk to a lot of people. So some of this might be, you know, a bit inaccurate, but I try my best out here. Hey, YouTube viewers, if you want to be part of this live chat that I've got going on, come over to the Twitch channel. It's linked down below. And while you're down there, maybe leave a like on this video and subscribe if you enjoyed it. Thanks.